Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. It is very late right now, but I decided I would record a review anyway. Today I will be talking about the horror cult classic from 1983, Christine. Christine is a movie based on a book by Stephen King, and it is directed by John Carpenter. If those names alone do not make you interested in the movie, then I do not know what will. Both Stephen King and John Carpenter are very influential and important people in the horror industry. Stephen King, of course, being the well-known writer that he is, that has written a ton of horror books, and John Carpenter being a famous director from the 80s, 90s, and even today, who has done a ton of action and horror movies. These two make for a perfect combination that results in a very fun 80s horror movie. The movie is about two high school students named Arnie and Dennis who are very close friends, and one day Arnie decides to buy a piece of junk car that just happens to be possessed. His bond with his car grows to the point of insanity, and his old friend Dennis and his ex-girlfriend have to find out what's going on and stop him from hurting anyone else. Before I watched this movie, I went into it kind of expecting just a slasher movie with a killer car, but really I should not be surprised that I got much more than that, because this is of course based on a book by Stephen King. If you love John Carpenter movies, then there's no doubt that you'll love this movie, because it definitely has that John Carpenter feel to it. It has his trademark synth music and a horror style very similar to Halloween, with the car stalking its prey. I think the thing that I enjoyed most about the story and found the most interesting was the character of Arnie, because he felt like a real person to me. I think it's just because it's pretty common in real life for some loser to buy a car and suddenly think they're like a big hotshot. And of course you always have car owners growing way more attached to their car than they should be. Christine kind of takes like a everyday thing and just amps it up to horror. And of course that is one of the things I admired most about it. I can't tell if it's the way it's directed or maybe it's just the book it was based on itself, but this feels very different from other Stephen King movies. It still has some elements of Stephen King, but it's definitely a lot less cliche than some of his other ones. But once again, I'm not sure if that's the book itself or if it is the way it's directed. Sometimes I wish I still read books, but I don't really have time anymore. The killer car idea in itself is also very fun. It makes for some very creative kills. I think my favorite scene in this movie would have to be when Christine just blows up a gas station and she chases down a bully while in flames. It's just a really cool image to see and something that won't be forgotten anytime soon. I also believe that this is a perfect movie for the 80s, because if a movie about a killer car were to be made today, it would not be taken very seriously. That's not to say that it can't be done as a horror comedy though, because just look at Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 2. They had an episode where they paid tribute to Christine and it is glorious. Also, this movie has a very good use of music. It plays a lot of 50s music, but all of the music is coming from the car radio. They use a lot of good classic songs, and I really like when movies make the music in their movie feel natural instead of just coming out of nowhere. The acting in this movie was also a treat to watch. I think all of the characters' personalities in this movie were made very clear, and I never had trouble trying to distinguish what exactly that personality was. Keith Gordon does a great job at playing both a loser and a car-obsessed creep. And surprisingly enough, Harry Dean Stanton was also in this movie, and it is always a treat to see him. Christine is not a very scary movie at all, but it is a fun one with a lot of clever ideas and an intriguing story. And I actually feel that those are the types of horror movies that I think I like the best. Overall, Christine is a movie that I would highly recommend to fans of horror. Even if you do not like horror, I think you may still end up enjoying this one, just because, as I said before, it is a real fun movie. That's all for now. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.